Welcome to Shiver Cove, Part 1 Tamyra, by T.J. Shores.
Chapter 8. Tamyra threw a third top onto the growing heap on her bed. She buzzed with excitement. Tonight Sal offered to take her to meet his friends for pizza. As they walked home, she discovered Sandy Anderson happened to be one of Sal's closest friends and would be there tonight. Sandy's sweet disposition made her feel at ease. Her presence would help quell the storm in Tamyra's stomach. Meeting his friends seemed huge, unless he only saw her as another friend. Then again, just making friends amazed her. She wanted to look perfect. She tried a purple t-shirt and decided the color seemed too regal. Shucking it onto the bed, she poked her head back into her closet, hoping to find something better. A lime green top hung in the closet, and she didn't recognize it. It still had tags. Taking a closer look, she noticed her size on the label. She wondered whether her mom or her aunt bought it as she took the hanger down from the rack. Holding it up, she could tell it would be a perfect fit, and the color looked fantastic against her caramel skin. She yanked the tags off and pulled the shirt over her head. Still smoothing it out, Tamyra stepped up to her full-length mirror and smiled. She had found the perfect shirt to wear tonight. She'd have to remember later to ask who bought it and thank them. She sprayed her hair once more and tried to flatten it a little. Normally she liked the puffy, slightly afro look, but today she wasn't feeling it so much. Maybe because she hadn't seen anyone else in town with hair like hers. That didn't feel right either. She hated when she fell into a fussy mood. Her hair looked the same as always. Probably just nerves or worrying about trying too hard. She had about 10 more minutes before Sal would be around to pick her up. Tamyra still couldn't believe her luck in meeting him the way she did. If she hadn't have met him alone, a week before school, she doubted she would have had a chance to get to know him so well, let alone be meeting his friends. This move had shaped up to be not so terrible. She still missed her old neighborhood, friends and home, but Shiver Cove appeared to be turning out much better than she'd ever hoped. Now, if only she had a way to find out if Sal liked her as much as she liked him. She kind of liked the giddy, nervous way he made her feel. Not the same as talking in class nervous. Not embarrassing, more of an excited or hopeful flutter. She grinned, pondering the mystery of Sal. He called every day at least once, and they chatted for hours, but he remained hard to read. He stopped by every day the week before school started, but then they were using the beach, and he did that before she came along. He made a point of walking to and from school with her, and now he wanted her to meet his friends. Part of her worried he only wanted to be friends, while the rest of her hoped he noticed her too. She tried to tell herself the confusion wasn't so bad. Soon enough she would know, but secretly it was killing her. She never wanted a boyfriend until Sal, and the feelings seemed alien to her. Hearing the doorbell, her stomach fluttered along with her heart. She did one last check in the mirror before she thumped down the stairs to meet him. She pulled open the door and couldn't help but let a smile take over when she saw him. Sal looked more like a model than a surfer tonight. He wore a plain black button-down shirt with a pair of khakis. An average outfit, but the way he wore it made it look fantastic. Somehow the clothes complemented his shoulder-length sandy blonde hair and took him from surfer to flawlessly styled. She flushed when she realized his eyes roamed up and down, taking her all in. "Hey, nice shirt. The color. I guess that's kinda lame, huh? What I mean is, it looks perfect on you. Thanks. So, you nervous?" "Yeah. I mean, I hope your friends are nice. But I'm afraid I'll say something really stupid or not be able to say anything at all." "You'll be fine. I already know you're going to fit right in." She felt her forehead crease as she wondered what he meant. She stepped onto the porch, turned to close the door, hoping he didn't notice her puzzled expression. He didn't say anything as they walked down the steps. Her heart bumped into her throat when his hand brushed hers. For a second she thought he might wrap his hand around hers, but then the moment passed. The walk from her place had been nice, and she didn't want to give up her alone time with Sal, even to meet his friends. She reluctantly followed him inside the pizzeria. The smell of tomatoes, fresh bread and garlic reminded her she skipped dinner, and suddenly she felt famished. The pizza place sort of reminded her of an oldies pizza joint. Sort of. Posters on the walls of kids in poodle skirts and bobby socks with old fancy cars. A faux antique jukebox belted out an oldies tune from one corner. In spite of the polished chrome throughout, the designer had missed recapturing the oldies feel, perhaps its shadow, but not the full deal. It would have been sad, except the place had a warm atmosphere and teenage chatter filled her ears. Much busier than she would have expected for a Tuesday night. Sal led the way to a table near the back. He slid into a booth with 4 other teens and grinned as he gently patted the seat next to him. Tamyra sat down, tried bury her nerves and looked comfortable through the introductions. Next to Sal sat Sandy Anderson, much to Tamyra's relief. Sandy leaned against a boy next to her. Someone told Tamyra his name, Cam. He was Asian and looked about Sandy's height. Soft dark eyes and a genuine smile. It wasn't hard to see what Sandy saw in him. The next person sitting in the booth was someone introduced as Val. She wasn't sure why his friends called him Val. In one of her classes, the teacher had called him Ivan. Could have been some inner circle thing, she didn't know. He looked a few inches taller than Sal or Cam. Although all 3 had athletic builds, he seemed broader across the shoulders than the others. He didn't smile, but his expression seemed friendly. He had clear blue eyes and a mess of blonde hair deliberately spiked in every which direction. She felt something intense about his gaze, even from behind his glasses. The last person in the booth smiled. A tiny girl with blonde hair to her shoulders. Tamyra didn't recall seeing her in gym class, even though she looked for her. Because of how different she appeared from Sandy, Tamyra wouldn't have even thought this girl could be Yvonne. Hard to picture the 2 girls as best friends. Even from the small amount of conversation, Tamyra easily discerned Yvonne's outgoing personality. By the time the pizzas got to the table, Tamyra had impressed herself by managing to field all of their questions and even ask a few of her own. She discovered this group of friends had known each other since grade school. She learned Sandy and Cam had been together for almost a year. She picked up other tidbits here and there. They called Ivan Val because of his last name, Valentine, and his father had something to do with the police. Yvonne had a pesky kid brother. Sandy ate pizza with a knife and fork because of her braces. Despite everyone being close friends for years, she didn't feel like an outsider. They all went out of their way to make her feel as if she'd always hung out with them. By the time she finished eating and excused herself to the ladies' room, she felt pretty good, like she could belong in Shiver Cove. On her way to the bathroom, she caught herself humming and had to suppress a giggle. It had been a long time since she allowed herself to be so happy. The restroom looked clean and luckily empty. Tamyra entered the first stall and shut the door as the door to the restaurant swung open. "What's her name again?" Tamyra asked a female voice. "Close enough. Just call her Tammy."